Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Woodstock, Georgia, it's time for Cherokee Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to this very special edition of Cherokee Business Radio. Stone Payton here producing for you this afternoon. Please join me in welcoming our host for today with Beckshot, the man himself, Mr. Randy Beck. Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, Stone.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks for letting me sit in. This is going to be a marvelous series. It's really our inaugural series of Design Radio. It's going to be fantastic. Take it away. Do your thing, man.
Well, as you know, but maybe nobody else knows, Design Radio is all about the design build space. It's about real estate, commercial, and residential, and every aspect. And so what I've done today is I've gotten a few Beckshot clients and other people that I know to come in to talk to us about some aspects of what's going on in Atlanta and why realtors can have 5 deals going with the same person and why the house prices are doing what they're doing and all that sort of thing.
Fantastic. All right, lay it on us, man. Who'd you bring with you?
So we got 2 people here from Stacey Wyatt, Exp Real Estate. And Exp has got some real advantages as a real estate operation. And Stacey Wyatt, the face of Exp in Atlanta, is here. And Robert Mason. Robert is a market leader in Roswell and that area, does a lot of work in North Georgia mountains, investment properties, and that sort of thing. He recently came over to Exp from a top producer position at Keller Williams. And I have Caroline Leyburn here. She's a licensed architect in Atlanta who works the other side of the fence. She does a lot of additions and renovations and new home design for custom builds. The whole architecture scenario, she's going to talk to us some about design aspects and what she's seeing and how this all gets put together.
All right. Fun stuff.
So I think the way to start is let each one of you guys just kind of take a second and tell us, who you are and what's so in business for you. Why should people work with you and whatever you'd like to say.
Cool.
Carolyn, you want to go first?
Oh, okay. I'm Caroline Leyburn of Caroline Leyburn Design, and I do focus on homes and home remodels with a focus on having the home be like really all about your personality, about you, and supporting your lifestyle. So I guess you'd want to work with me if you want that. You don't want the same old, same old.
Robert?
Thanks for having me here, Randy. I've been selling real estate since 1990. Came out of the University of Georgia. Did some commercial real estate at first. All the girls on the residential side were having all the fun. So I said, you know what? I need to go over there. And made that switch. And wow, it's been a heck of a ride. I joined Stacey about a month ago, but he and I had been running around at Keller Williams aggravating everybody over there for a couple of years. And I was always keeping track of what Stacey was doing, and I was bird dogging some deals for Stacey, and he was making fun of me online and stuff like that. But so now, I tell my clients, we're not all the same, and you must choose wisely, and you better have people with experience, because in this market, as fast as the water is moving, as fast as the incomes are going up and the average price homes are going up, now we've got interest rates that are soaring, and we've got some big waves in front of us. So you need somebody you need a good captain of the boat. Not you, Randy, but Stacey Wyatt and I.
I was a captain.
I know. That's why I brought it up. So, so choose wisely, folks, and I'm here to help, and I'm glad you brought me on today.
Awesome.
Okay, and Stacey.
Yeah, so interesting backgrounds of everybody here. Actually, I've got an architectural engineering degree. So came out and went into commercial construction until, let's say, 2008 when the market decided to take tank. And the developer I was working for went belly up. Let's say they just closed their doors, handed the keys back to the banks on a lot of their deals. And so I got my real estate license in 2009. So residential real estate space, started a sales team. Because of my background, I'm a licensed GC and have that architectural engineering. We started buying, renovating, and flipping a lot of properties, which is a big passion of mine. And now I'm in the space of Stacey Wyatt Real Estate. We also have our own construction company, investment company, and our sales company, and have a big passion on helping other agents grow their businesses. And like Robert said, he and I have been in the real estate sales space. So the EXP brokerage model, which, Robert and I both have our deals brokered through, has allowed us to team up. And, like you said, it's a tough market. It's a really tough market. I think it's a tougher market than it was in 9, 10, and 11 for people. And this is the type of opportunity that agents are stronger together as we navigate these waters. And it's kind of an iron sharpens iron mentality where Robert has his own business, I have my own, and together we can help people buy, sell, invest in real estate.
So I've been in your office, and it's unique. I hear a lot that EXP doesn't really have offices or doesn't need offices. And so when I came in yours, it strikes me, you've got your back office where you work and your administration works, but then you have a meeting room, it's sort of a gathering area. And that's really kind of all I saw. It seems like a good meeting place. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so the Exp Realty model is very different than all the other real estate models out there, right? It's an old traditional model that is mostly a franchise model, which let's just hearken it to the Blockbuster, right? It's brick and mortar. And as the brokers don't have access to all the information. Well, they have access to all the information, but so do we as agents, right? So the value proposition for the broker has been reduced. And for that, the agents who are out there generating the business and bringing in the income are looking for more opportunity in the market, in my opinion, ownership and what have you. So as the market has changed or technology has changed, it has allowed a new model, which EXP brought out, which is a virtual model. And people think is that, wow, do you guys actually have brokers and meets and you don't have places to go? So it's a complete mind shift. And I say, yes. Just think about this. All of the brokerage operations works in the virtual world. They work in a cloud. Actually EXP had a metaverse before Facebook had metaverse, right? Which was, it's an avatar-based software system that, you go on and dress up a fancy little character that looks just like you. Mine's got this same shoes and a jacket and jeans on, that you can walk around and talk to anybody real time. If there's a wireless connection anywhere in the world, I can walk in and talk to my broker, tech support, payment processing, like you did in a brick and mortar. So it allows an agent to work from anywhere in the world, provided they have a wireless connection. And agents like myself may choose still to have an office, right? Because as we still like that little bit of collaboration. I mean, I can't imagine somebody in the architecture space or design space would be able to work with the client without seeing anything. Now, you could do it technology-wise, but there is, I think, just as humans in general, we do like that, still getting in front and having that conversation. So we had built a space to where we call it like our collaboration hub, where we can come in, and for salespeople, if we're in the office all day, we're probably not making any money, right? Yeah. So we treat it more as a collaboration hub to where we all can get together, mastermind on what's working, what's not working in this market, and then get out and do what we always did. And the beauty of it is most people choose. When I chose this business, I wanted the flexibility to work wherever I wanted to, right? And it does seem every time I set a vacation and I go there, that's when my deals go under contract.
Yeah, contracts come in when you're going out of town.
Yeah, but the beauty of it is now my brick and mortar is still back in Atlanta, but when I'm down in Florida on 30A, I can pull my wireless connection up, walk into my broker's office. I could do that anywhere. So the model is hard to understand until you actually get in it and see it, because I hearken to EXP Realty to the Netflix of real estate. So that's a little bit of the difference.
So it sounds like, if I'm understanding this right, when Robert runs off to play tactical games or he's up on the Great Lakes sailing on a boat or whatever,
you got it.
All he has to do is find a Wi-Fi connection to take care of whatever his client's got going on. And otherwise it's exactly this. There's no difference between him being in the office, being in Atlanta, or anywhere else.
Yeah, that's the way it is. And my avatar looks like Tattoo from Fantasy Island. It's a really small little guy, indication of who I am.
With big guns, though.
Yeah, he's got big guns. But, anywhere I go, as long as I can get online, I can get help. I can write contracts. You don't have to be in an office. It gives you a lot of flexibility, which more agents want flexibility. And the market has changed since COVID, and people don't have to go to work. So it's a great company, and it's going to work.
And if I had one thing to that is I actually feel, and this is going to be really weird. No, not that weird. I feel more connected in a virtual world than I ever did standing in an office next to other people.
Well, people say that about Facebook and stuff too. They feel like they make real friends there when you're not even making them in your day-to-day life.
Yeah. I mean,
there's some level of connection that this is enabling that people have
100%.
It's either new or they've been missing.
Yeah. And you get to, for a lot of instances, you get to choose who you like. Robert and I chose to hang out together, like smart guys, blowing up his business. And he and I can, share what's working in this market, what's changing, and keep us both ahead. Because it's a little bit of an abundance play, right? Because sitting here, people could say, oh, you guys are competitors. Well, yeah. And
I don't feel that way.
Yeah. Robert sells a lot of homes in Roswell. I sell a lot of homes in Roswell. We've never, ever, I don't think that we've done one potential transaction together.
I've sent him homes.
Yeah.
Clients.
So it was a situation where we can make each other stronger, help each other's businesses grow. And it's abundance mentality. Most people come at it with a little bit of a scarcity mentality.
Is it fair to say then that the benefit to your client is that there's no gap in the service you provide at all?
None. There's none.
None. And I honestly believe that it's an elevated service because we're sharing information at a really high level. I go spend, I would guess on average, I spend at least $50,000 a year on education, masterminds and stuff that I go to. When I bring that back, I'm sharing it with, I consider Robert a partner. We're not partners in the legal sense, right? We're partners, and he has joined EXP. I'm financially invested through their brilliant model of sharing in revenue and agent ownership. I want to see him succeed, right? I mean, I like him. He's just a nice guy anyway. And he's going to teach me how to shoot guns way better than I already do. That's a different story for a different day. However, that's that collaboration piece that I feel like then makes us that much sharper to serve our clients at a higher level.
All right. And Caroline, you work from home, but you have staff too, right?
Actually, I have a draftswoman who is in India. So that, it's kind of very similar,
Virtual.
So, now that we have daylight saving time, she starts at 6:30 in the evening, works till 3 in the morning. I start at 9 in the morning, work till 5:30. Actually, I work till about 2 in the morning, but
she's doing all the work while you're sleeping, and it shows up in your email box, and you look brilliant, right?
Well, she's working actually at the same time.
Oh,
and then I continue.
Got it.
On.
Yeah.
I mean, an employee, you work 8 hours.
Yeah.
Business owner, you work, 16.
True. You're on all the time, right? Well, it's interesting because I have 2 VAs in the Philippines. One does video editing and one does graphic design. We send them their information. And granted, I'm kind of like you. I don't sleep, but when I do sleep, they're probably working on it. So in a big sense, we already are in a virtual world, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. For an entrepreneur or somebody that needs to run a business, you need to figure out how to do these things. I call it resorcefulness.
Yeah. Did I hear him say video editing?
Yeah.
We're not even together and he's already cheating.
Yeah, he's already cheating on you, Randy.
It's not quality video. It's like for reels or something.
And Stacey, Randy's a better shooter than I am. So he's a world champion. So.
Uh-oh. Well, I guess you're going to be teaching me then.
We could work something out.
There we go.
Let's talk about the Atlanta market here. I saw statistics. I've been told that 150,000 people a year are moving into this area.
Last year we had about 125,000 move to Atlanta. We typically were getting 75,000 roughly moving to Atlanta, so we almost doubled. And, I hear realtors saying that the inventories are down. Well, we averaged we did 110,000 interactions last year through the FMLS, which is how I kind of gauge everything. If you look back the last 2 or 3 years, it was about 100, 105, 110. So those numbers really didn't get squeezed out. We're selling the same amount of houses. There's just a lot more competition for everything that goes online. For every house that comes online, you probably have 3 or 4 buyers if it makes sense, if it's ready to sell, if there's curb appeal and they haven't overpriced it. And there are a couple of brokerage companies in Atlanta that tried to come in and buy the business. Won't mention their names, but now they're kind of going by the wayside. So we have to be very careful on the offers that we're throwing out there because it still has to make sense.
How do you have a market that active and still have low inventory?
There's more competition. We're going to sell the same amount of houses.
Yeah, and there's some interesting stats out there as to why inventory is so low. Well, first of all, millennials is the largest buying segment, right? Boomers is the second. Well, most of those millennials, when did they get introduced to real estate in 08, 09? They saw what happened. They were coming out of college. They were living in their parents' basements. Mm-hmm. Well, now fast forward, they're in basically family formation stage or ready to have their first child, and now they need homes. So challenge was in the last decade, we've built the fewest homes in the last, I believe, 8 decades than we ever have. So we actually have, the home builders have not kept up with the necessary supply, mainly because of the fallout from the 08-09 period. And this is a really wonky stat that it caught me by surprise, was the 08-09 when we had oversupply, right? And the lending standards and everything were, as we all know, loose, right? They were giving dead people mortgages. Mm-hmm. If you back up 30 years before that, builders had stayed on that pace and were building. Why did we have so much supply? Well, Roe v. Wade was 30 years earlier. So the amount of actual household formations decreased massively. So you take an oversupply of houses, a smaller group of family formations. That's what created that gap in the supply at that time, to where everybody was doing the liar loans. It was a financial crisis. That's what people can't get their head. That was a financial crisis. People did not have, they were giving loans to people that didn't have the money. They weren't putting anything down.
Subprime.
That was a financial bubble, right? Brought on by the oversupply of housing because of that demographic shift. Now, let's fast forward. Over this last decade, what has happened is builders hadn't caught building, right? They were trying to get rid of all the supply. So the builders haven't started, they haven't caught up. So that's led to two things. We're in the Sun Belt part of the country, right? So everybody's still moving here. Since the Olympics, this place has still been growing. So add that on because of our business climate and low taxes and everything else, and the fact that the builders stopped building, we just don't have enough homes. And so competition now is just crazy.
And a little known fact, Randy, is the population of the United States has stayed flat relatively over the last 25, 30 years. So it's not that we're getting more people, with people having more children. It's regional. You've got to look things through a macro lens and a micro lens. What's going on in California and New York, that's not going on in Atlanta and Birmingham and Raleigh and places like that. They're all coming here. They're coming here for a number of reasons, which is great for us realtors. It makes it tough for those folks who are Atlantans trying to buy a house and move up, because a lot of them are getting squeezed out.
Especially the first-time home buyers are just getting destroyed in this market.
Mm-hmm. So we know that businesses are moving in here, creating a lot of jobs. That's drawing people here, these 100,000 people a year or whatever it is. Yep. And so since the housing hasn't kept up,
there's not enough development.
They're bidding up prices and competing for the house.
Yeah, and there's not in land.
This is the competition you were mentioning.
It's difficult to find land to build on. I mean, I've got 13 acres on due west, and the numbers have to make sense. There's not enough land for these builders to go out and buy on. And when they do, the average price home on new construction anywhere 30, 40 miles within, the greater Atlanta area, you've got to price those homes at $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 for it to make sense. No first-time home buyer is going to be able to buy that.
Well, and if you throw that into the increased cost of land, because prices have gone up, well, now all the builders and everybody, and you're probably seeing this in people you're consulting on the architecture side as you design stuff, is inflation is crushing these builders because they're paying high for the land. All the materials are expensive. They can barely put a price on the house. Now, the little bit of upside, prices are continuing to move up, right? But they're facing challenges because the time that they actually start the house or even start developing the land, they ran a pro forma on how much it's going to cost for bricks and sticks, which, hell, that could change. I mean, now it's changing in 2 weeks, even if they can get the materials. Yeah.
And so you're advising your buyers, as you told me, to step up to the plate, get in while they can, make the best offers they can, because they're competing with other buyers for the houses, right? Yeah. And so I would think that sellers would be excited to sell their house for a premium price and move, but then they're having to pay the inflated price, right?
Yeah, but you've got to find something that you can move into and you can win the bid on, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where new construction comes in from somebody that's got an existing house. He's going to make good equity when he sells it, get into something new construction if they can find it. I've got my mortgage guy, Brad Hartman's like that. He's looking to step up. But there's not a lot of inventory out there that really makes sense. There's not a lot of inventory out there at all. And so the train's not going to slide backwards down the tracks. The prices are going up. They're going to continue to go up. The cost of money has gone up. I think we're priced out today at about 4.5, 4.56 for an interest rate. And the Fed has announced that they're going to increase that 6 times this year. So for people that are sitting on the fence and saying, I'm just going to wait for it to come back down, there's going to be a crash, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've heard over the last even today, I could pull up my Slack right now. And my team said, hey, can we do 5 or 6 talking points on why the market's not going to crash? Because, I think there's a little PTSD from 08, 09, especially in the millennial crew, that it feels like the same thing. I'm like, it feels like it, but it's completely different.
Yeah, it is.
Well, the growth that's happening in Atlanta, nobody's going to stop moving here in the near future.
Right.
So this
Economics,
isn't a
weather.
real estate market. This is a jobs market.
Now, if you were talking about California, New York, New Jersey, some of those places, yeah, they're sliding back.
Well, of that 50% of that 150,000 roughly that move here every year, 50% of it's from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and now California.
Including me a little over a year ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Caroline, how is this affecting your business now?
Well, in the custom, it's hard for a contractor to give a fixed fee bid. I mean,
It's got to be cost plus.
You got it. I mean,
Caveat.
Yeah.
So,
Are you seeing a lot, like if it's difficult for a seller to sell something and find where they want to go next, are you seeing an increase in remodels and additions then, where they say, okay, let me stay where I am and add on to the house?
certainly.
I would assume you're also probably getting more work that you can shake a stick at, right? Because everybody's...
It's certainly available.
Yeah. That's good problems to have, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So as an architect, what do you do the most of in that world? I mean, tell us a little bit about the kind of work you're doing.
Yeah, it is mostly remodel, which, I think when it comes to new, if they want just the same old, sometimes I'm like, well, why don't you just get a stock plan or go see a real estate agent? I mean, but if you want something that's really more about you and your personality, then that's when you get an architect.
And it's very customized work. Mm-hmm. And so what is that? A lot of the people moving in, are you getting a lot of people saying, I don't just want to buy something else now. I'm coming from New York. I sold my highly appreciated house. Now I want something really special that's my own.
Well, most of the people that move in need something right now. So, unless they're going to rent for a year or two, mm-hmm. It's really more people who are here and moving up or changing, sometimes downsizing. The old 50s ranches are great for the boomers who are getting older and just remodel it, and it's perfect.
Are you seeing I've seen a lot of California buyers come in and they want that California mod. Are you seeing a lot of that?
Not yet, but I certainly like the look.
All right, it's coming.
They're coming.
We get a lot of requests lately that are, because the modern farmhouse has been big, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now they're wanting that California mod is
That
what I'm
steel and
seeing a
glass
lot
look
of.
that's on the coast.
Yeah.
Cubes with windows.
Yeah. Yep, you got it.
Some of those are really nice, and some of them look like Frank Lloyd Wright nightmares.
Yeah.
True. They're doing 3 in East Cobb, over kind of where Robert and I are at. A builder just moved in there, and he's building 3 custom, like $2-3 million, really modern California type houses, and they all are already under contract, pre-build.
Yeah.
Well, you guys bridged into the trends topic really nicely there, almost like you knew what we were going to be talking about.
I saw your notes.
So what are the trends? What are the hot versions besides modern farmhouse, which everybody knows? That's
modern farmhouse is really in.
Still.
White with black trim, that's become a trend now. We just did it in our house.
That's still the hot.
Oh, yeah. It is
look.
now.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm seeing a lot. I mean, I am definitely seeing a trend moving towards what I'd call more modern, like a little more of a mid-century, but a lot of the California clients that are coming in really want a modern look, more glass. We're kind of in where we're at. It's more traditional, right? We call 5-4 in a door. It's a box. You walk in and, living room to the right, kitchen in the back, so on and so forth. They're wanting more open space, a lot more light. They want these modern homes. I mean, you think about it, they're probably tripling down on their money moving to Atlanta because we've always been, nationally, average sales price like Phoenix is pretty low in comparison. And so they're bringing all this money in, and they want what they want. And they can, hire an architect and design these fancy modern houses. So I'm seeing a huge trend. Sandy Springs, Buckhead, up into the lower part of East Cobb that are wanting these, what I'm calling like the California modern vibe.
And another thing about it, more people are spending time in their own houses and working out of their houses.
100%.
So they're changing that space, for the kids to be able to study at home, because COVID changed everything. And people want their workspace and their residential space in the same place.
That additional bedroom, but now it's additional office or flex space because almost all of them, a lot of the big corporate like Coke, and they're just now going back. But what has happened, my buddy's like, dude, I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
So they're going to force employers at some point. And so that's opening up that additional flex space or additional room in the house to work from home.
You're seeing carriage houses over garages and stuff like that. They're really hunkering down because they don't have a lot of choices out there. It's competitive.
So, Caroline, and if somebody's remodeling or adding to an existing house, they're probably not following these same trends, right? You're probably trying more to blend it into the existing house. Like when I looked at your website, a couple of things that I noticed were some of the additions you did. You had to kind of look 2 or 3 times to see that wasn't really that the photo changed. It wasn't really part of the original house.
And they usually do want that, yes. So
Okay.
So yeah, when we're talking about style, yeah, obviously Joanna Gaines made Farmhouse Modern, just
HGTV, change the world.
And everybody wants to be them.
everyone. Yeah, and,
Chip and Joanne.
and and like you say, the mid-century modern and so forth. But for the most part, people are wanting it to blend into what was already existing. Maybe upgrade a little, change a little.
Are there other trends that affect you, like I don't know, automation or intelligent house or energy efficiency topics that are hot?
I mean, I incorporate all that, but it doesn't necessarily drive the design.
Okay.
The one that I've seen a little, I'd be curious from your perspective is, obviously with the aging boomer population, I'm seeing a lot more multi-generational living, or at least spaces like they want the basement, or in the case some carriage houses for that. Are you seeing that very much?
Yeah, and that, so any life change, like if you're expecting a new child or your mother's got to move in, that's often the time they call an architect, saying we need to either add. I mean, it's like when mom wants to move in, maybe someone feels like the guest room's not a big enough boundary,
or mom doesn't think it's big enough.
Yeah, it's like we need a little better boundary here, So
Exactly.
You make a new special space.
Yeah.
It could be in the back, the bottom, the top, anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of that.
In the garage.
Are there other trends besides style that you guys are seeing?
Ranch houses for the older generations. I mean, they don't want stairs. I don't want stairs, and I'm not really there yet, but I'm getting there quickly. The traditional 4 upstairs is kind of going by the wayside because the aging populations. So more people want ranches. I think with the millennial crowd, they're kind of like looking at things as a throwaway, kind of like cell phones. Got to get a new one every year, and they're not really interested in tying themselves down. So multi-family living space is big for the young crew. People coming in from the Northeast are used to living in big cities, so you're getting a lot of that multifamily stuff being built. And when interest rates and the economy goes a little sour, you see more rental opportunities. You'll see like the Cousins properties, some of those folks coming in and taking some office space that people aren't using anymore, and they're going to make it into multifamily units. You're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see a lot of that with malls are going to be turned into entertainment districts. So there's going to be a big shift, and these commercial real estate guys, they're not dumb. These guys got a lot of money, got a lot of intelligence, been doing things for a while. They're going to shift into some other product.
Yeah.
3 times today, we've talked about staffing, we've talked about work, and we've talked about the Exp model, and now we're talking about shifting this office space to residential and other uses.
Yep.
Apparently, this shift in bandwidth and technology, internet marketing, work from home revolution that's going on is having a broad effect.
Massive change.
Do you feel like we're looking at a paradigm shift here?
Yeah, there's going to be a paradigm shift. There already is. I mean, people are staying home, working out of their houses, and designing properties like that is going to be a big part of your future. It's a big part of the trend for Stacey and I, and we better get our head wrapped around it and understand it, and not let it just surprise us and go, "Oh, it'll just happen."
Yeah, I think COVID shrunk the innovation cycle shorter. It just made it a shorter. We were going to get there. COVID just put it on the fast track. And in that same breath, 2 other things that are happening. I don't know if y'all remember here in Atlanta. How long you been here, Randy?
A little over a year.
Okay. So pre-COVID, everybody wanted to move downtown. They wanted the lifestyle, and they wanted the condo, and they want to walk to the restaurants. And when COVID happened, they're like, damn, we're all too close to each other. So I'm seeing the big shift now to where everybody wanted to be in Morningside and all the places in town. Everybody's moving out, and they want bigger properties and more land for multiple reasons. But then also it's the flight to second property, lake properties, right?
Mountain properties.
Since they can work from anywhere they want, the paradigm shift is we're in the middle of it, in my opinion, because now they can work. That's why you can't find a damn lake house. And if you can, it's so expensive because people, if you have a choice to work, I mean, yeah, I'd rather work from my lake house, look at my lake view, and as soon as I'm done, I can pop out and go on the boat.
I think you should buy one, Stacey.
So you're saying that
I have friends with boats. That's my law.
So you're saying it's not like it's going to change. It is changing.
It is changing.
And we're just wondering what the final version is going to look like at this point.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of agents that are behind the curve. There's going to be a lot of folks behind the curve. We're going to see a lessening of the real estate world and the mortgage world. The average agent the average national agent sells 2 houses per year. That's not enough, And so you're going to see the guys that have been in the business that have wrapped their heads around this change, this morphing into this different thing. They're going to be able to hang on longer than some of these new agents that are coming in. So my suggestion for the young guys, young gals, is to get educated on this as much as possible. Listen to blogs, listen to all the spots like this, get as much information as you possibly can, because we're shifting fast.
So some of what I've observed myself in my comings and goings in this sea change, some Navy talk for you.
Oh, there you go.
People are working from home, yes. The counter argument is that you need certain things that the office can provide. It's not the same things that it used to be. It's not a fax machine and a copier and a secretary to answer the phone and all that stuff, because you don't even need that stuff. You can scan from your cell phone.
Yeah, that's so 80s, Randy.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it might be collaboration and FaceTime and coordinated input, right, from people working together. And so I'm seeing that companies are transforming their workspace to collaborative environment, and they're making them look more like homes. The office design is very rapidly shifting to more like a long kitchen counter, almost a breakfast bar, some tables sitting around like a big dining room, and some home-type feeling spaces to work in. Can you guys comment on that trend?
Go ahead, Stace.
Yeah. First of all, from, in talks of working from home, there's the first thing we need to talk is productivity. In Atlanta traffic in the morning, I know people that live in Cumming and work downtown. They're, first of all, from an employer perspective, I would rather have them an hour and a half instead of commute working. And in the evening, it's probably 3 hours of productivity time alone. However, as we look at, and Robert hasn't been plugged in this totally yet, as we're looking at to build a collaboration space here in Atlanta for the agents that join us, at EXP, is our version is something of a house. It's not a commercial office space. We want it to be a home because that's actually what we do, but we want to have, with social media and technology, we want to have that custom kitchen. These agents can come get their photos in and have that collaboration space and have that feel for a home. It's kind of what we do. So it's something different. I think for us, it's different. It's collaboration, and it is what we do. I will say in the commercial space, I would agree with you. Now, it kind of came from the West Coast, right, with Google and all them having those open workspaces. And you've been to my office, so you see I've built it kind of like a coffee house, where I just want it to be a collaboration space where agents can come in, or whoever, partners come in, collaborate, do video, do whatever they want in that space. Because I didn't want the boring old office. I wanted to be able to go to a space that I like. If I get in trouble with the wife, I can go in and I've got the dartboard and I've got the video games and I've got the refrigerator and bathroom, just missing a shower, but we can work on that.
It's a wine cellar.
Down, right? It's got a full bar and
whiskey bar,
cappuccino machine, play poker in there. In any event, I wanted a fun space anyway. So I do think people want something different.
Yeah.
Stone, I think I want to go to work for him.
Yeah, me too. I don't want to go to work, period. But if I do go to work, I want to go with him.
Yeah, I've left the old school. I'm going to date myself here. Remember in pizza, you'd always have the sit-down Miss Pac-Man game, and it's got all the old school games on it.
Oh, now that's very 80s.
That was going to go into the office, but it stayed at the house. Yeah. I play one game
Waka,
every
waka,
night,
waka, waka, waka.
I've got like 200,000 of Miss Pac-Man now.
Oh, my wife loves Pac-Man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah. So I do. I think people are enjoying it, and honestly, I think a lot still want to work from home.
Yeah.
One of the last things I worked on in New York was a multi-use building that was apartments above. I think there was 49 units or something like that, and then on the ground floor there was some commercial space and a school space, and of course the school schools being what they are, that was handled by a different interior architect, a different MEP firm. Everything was it was its own thing. The rest of the building was built to passive house standards, which is it was the first one in America to do that. Passive house being a residential concept from Europe, right, for energy efficiency, using air interchange and sometimes geothermal and a lot of solar heating, and all these specific technologies and specific design considerations. And now that's going. Now that's being adapted for commercial buildings.
Yeah, they're called PUDs, Plan Unit Developments. They've been in Atlanta. Peachtree Corners was one of the very first PUDs here in Atlanta, so that's been here for a while.
Okay, so these things are expensive. Yep. You know, anybody that's worked in the business will tell you that. How are people in the middle of this sea change? We're changing our design criteria. We're changing the functions of our house. We're changing the MEP. We're changing the mechanics of it. How do you afford this? How does somebody get what they want and be able to buy it now?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, it just depends on what is the price. What are the price points? I mean, the average person in America makes $85,000 a year. So, you know, they're going to get topped out around $400,000 at a 4.5% interest rate. So it's going to leave a lot of people out of that.
So the average price on Long Island is over $500,000.
Oh, yeah. It's
the average price
higher.
here in Atlanta is just reached $400,000.
Just reached.
What does that say for that average income earner?
It's going to be a tough road to hoe for these guys, because they're not going to be able to qualify for some of these higher 550, 650s when interest rates go to 5.5, 6. I had a gal on a conference call said it might go to 7, which that would be not a disaster. The first mortgage I took out in 1997 was 7. So people just need to kind of calm down and just realign themselves. But in 1997, when I had a 7% interest rate, the product was $130,000. It's going to be $550,000. So things are changing.
Yeah, and I'll be curious to hear what you're seeing on that end of the design also. A lot of what you're talking about the passive design. So when I think of that, I think of like building a house green or solar or anything like that. On the residential, that's the first thing that usually seems to get value engineered out of the deal, right?
That's so expensive.
So unless you have the money to do it, where I am seeing it at a higher level is since the commercial usually can afford it, I'm seeing it in a lot of commercial spaces. For instance, like, you know, Facebook's building another 1 million square foot space out in Social Circle. Well, they've got their typical backup, but then they also have solar backup. So I think the ones that have the money, they're going to probably are going to spend it in a category where maybe it helps them more financially. I'm not really seeing it on the residential, especially here in Atlanta, where, you know, Earthcraft was building green was a big thing. And I haven't heard as much of that lately. I mean, some of this stuff has changed, better insulation and what have you, but that's always seems to be the first thing that goes. They want the aesthetic versus, you know, any maybe potential savings they have from solar or something.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case. You know, and I'm interested in doing the energy saving stuff. I mean, when I was in school, that was as much the religion as being green is now.
Totally.
You know, but you know, yes, people do insulate better now, sometimes with foam and stuff.
Yep.
But
spray foam.
You know, but
that's usually it, right?
But you don't see a lot of south facing glass and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You had indicated to me the other day when we were talking that there's less incentive, less tax breaks, less incentive for the homeowners to do green design or green building, other than, wow, look at my neat energy efficient house, right? Whereas the commercial guys have tax credits that they can sell off, and
right,
100%.
They can monetize that in a lot of ways.
Right.
Well, certainly, like the LEED accreditation, if you're just doing your own house, why would you do it? I mean,
just because I wanted to, right?
You'd have to want to, you know, virtue signal or whatever. You have to be able to say, you know, I got a LEED platinum or whatever you got, you know. And
my partner, my construction company, is LEED certified. So, you know, if he wants to do his house, he just wants to do it because.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the average price to do solar on a residential house is between $15,000 and $25,000. Back to that $85,000 wage earner, do they have $15,000 to $25,000 to do solar if they wanted to? If you got $20,000, redo your kitchen. You know, there's things that you can do that can up the equity and the value of your house. And as much as, you know, people would like to go solar, it's still very expensive. You don't get the tax credits really as the residential purchaser of that. You do a little bit, but it's still expensive.
well, and from a payback period too, like we're a very transient city. Like when I lived in New York, people there was like, they've been in their homes for 30 years.
Yeah.
And here it's 4 to 7. We're very transient in Atlanta. So it's 4 to 7 years. Well, for you to make your money back on solar, it's something like 12 to
Yeah, it's 12 to 15 years. Yeah.
To make your money back on it. So it's just not a good investment, you know, because most people I've traded, I don't buy and sell a lot of houses myself. So
Yeah.
it also means you're cutting down your trees.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, so how do you want it to feel like you're, you know, in a sheltered tree natural space, or cut them down
Right,
and get the
because you need that
saving?
sunlight.
Now it's the green war.
And
you want solar power? Or do you want to save the trees?
There's a lot of trees in Georgia, though.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah,
it's the Sierra Club against the solar people.
exactly.
I mean, in Nevada, in those open spaces, it makes a lot more sense.
Completely.
You know, on a commercial side, when you've got a big concrete, area that you're working in, it makes more sense.
We're talking about affordability here. A minute ago, you mentioned Brad. Just give him a quick plug.
Brad Hartman at Cornerstone Mortgage.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He is a very unique lender, and he got into the Airbnb space. I sold him a mountain house about 2 years ago, and there's a lot of different financing options now on that Airbnb stuff. But Brad, my guy at Cornerstone, he does a tremendous amount of job with whether you're a first-time home buyer or you're an Airbnb investor. So, yeah, great guy. Love him.
And then you also mentioned the Fed is trying to raise interest rates 6 times this year or
That's
something
what they
like that.
said, yeah, 6 to 7 times.
And if we're already in a position where the houses are climbing out of reach of your average wage earner, then tightening the money is going to drive those prices.
Yeah, it's going to create
Can
a
I add
problem.
one thing in there real quick? Because this comes up a lot when people talking about, so the Fed's talking about raising the Fed fund rate, which is not directly tied to mortgage interest rates, right? And I think a lot of younger agents and maybe even some consumers don't know that they're not directly tied. However, you can't bump the Fed fund rate multiple times without most likely impacting like a mortgage interest rate. So just because the Fed bumps it does not necessarily mean that the mortgage interest rates are. However, we are seeing rates obviously climbing right now. Mainly inflation is obviously driving a lot of things also.
So it's not necessarily going to bump people out of the market.
No, I mean,
But cost of money being cost of money, they probably should, if you're going to get in, you should get in.
100%.
Yeah. And the rates are climbing. The mortgage interest rates are climbing. And it is, they shadow each other. They're not on parallel universes completely, but when the Fed bumps the rate, rate.
Well, and you got, as the rates are rising, if the rates and prices are rising at the same time, you're really getting crushed as a home buyer that's getting priced out of the market quicker and quicker every single month. It's the fastest I've seen people priced out of the market. And people are I'm going to wait for prices to drop. Like most people don't realize, other than that one small period in history where we had the bubble and then pulled back, prices don't go backwards.
No.
They're not. Last time I checked, they weren't making any more land, right?
Right.
And we're still growing. So if you're going to buy, that's buy now. And I look at it from a buy up perspective. Like if I'm buying up, right? I'm trading in my house at 500 and I'm buying 8. I'm starting to consult people. I'm like, listen, even if you think you have to overpay for a house right now, slightly, right? It's the law of big numbers. Well, if I buy an $800,000 house and prices are increasing, which they say in Metro Atlanta 10%, I paid $20,000 over for the house theoretically, so I made $20,000. Well, at the end in 12 months, it went up 10%. I made $80,000, so I netted $60K.
Yeah.
So we're having to walk people through the psychological steps of understanding. Well, really, it's a financial lesson in how do all these things come together, and that's where I think, to Robert's point earlier, this is the worst market, I think, for real estate agents. And I'm the guy that got in 2009. I think this market's worse. I think what's going to happen is a lot of agents that aren't plugged in, like a guy, that aren't plugged in to understand what's happening and can't articulate this to a client, are going to unfortunately get pushed out of the business. And then that's when you go hire a guy like a Robert, who has not only been doing the business, but Robert stays plugged in, understands the trends, so then he can articulate and give his best guidance to his clients to win.
Yeah. Thanks, Stacey.
What's the key for those agents then? If it's a tough market, how are they going to excel?
There's going to be natural selection, of course, right? And so the agents that seek out the experienced folks like Stacey and myself, then they're going to have a better chance of surviving this. Yep. And the wave is coming. You see it. So I'm hoping, because I love my fellow agents, I want them to succeed. But yeah,
and the ones that use Backshot, right?
And if you don't use Backshot, then you're out.
I mean, if they talk to Robert, they have to, right?
Yeah,
Caroline, in terms of projects that you've done, what are your favorite projects, favorite areas of town that you've done this in? And in particular, what are good areas where people might want to do this?
Well, the one that is on the front burner now is a lake house where they've got the house in the 404 area code and then one up in Blairsville. And during COVID, they spent more time in Blairsville than Atlanta.
Yeah.
And they're saying, you know what, we need to alter this house to make it our primary because it's, well designed as a vacation over the weekend, but not so much for primary.
Making it their forever home.
Exactly, which is what I like, because then they don't have to worry about resale, and it's all about what they want.
Already got it.
And then then they don't come to you and say, "Oh, you just drew it too nice. I need you to take this out."
Well, budget could
remember
come
those
in.
days, but I'd like to hear that they're actually going to spend the money for you. So.
And they want to essentially live, have outdoor living as much as possible.
Right.
And so I'm hearing that more and seeing it more in magazines and stuff. So, now that you can just kind of work from a laptop anywhere, I mean, you could be in a screen porch, you could be anywhere.
100%.
Why not at the lake?
Yeah, on the deck looking down at the lake.
Instead of staring at four walls.
And then you make the house so nice when somebody wants to sell, they say, well, why do we want to leave this?
Exactly.
So there's a problem.
Robert, favorite areas and hot areas that you like?
I like Roswell, I like East Cobb, but I really like selling up in North Georgia. I do. I mean, it's a drive, it's a hike, but I enjoy being up there and seeing the looks on these folks' faces, when they're buying these mountain properties and going into Airbnbs and doing things. East Cobb. Roswell.
Stacey?
Yeah, my office is in historic Roswell, so obviously Roswell's is a big home for me, and I live right on. I'm technically in East Cobb, but I've got a Roswell address, so that's an area. I just know it so well. So in buying and renovating properties, but I will say I'm an outdoors guy, so I love the lake and I love the mountain properties also. So getting a little more. I've been heavy in investing in either flipping houses or holding rentals in the metro area. I'm actually enjoying getting out and wanting to get some stuff, Airbnbs in the mountains. Lake, and I'm now licensed in Florida, so along 30A.
I know an agent.
Exactly.
I know an agent that works big in Airbnb too.
Yeah. We got that covered.
Other agents I know are helping other agents up in the mountains. So.
I know. Don't cheat on me now, Stacey.
Now we've talked a lot about what people are looking for, the good aspects. What should they avoid? Are there areas to avoid, techniques to avoid? In the remodel, is there certain kind of windows or doors to avoid? Where are my pitfalls out there?
Gosh, that's a good question.
I'll jump in there. On the building side, we're renovating. We're doing our first luxury remodel. Windows, depending which windows you're picking, 18 to 22 weeks delivery.
Yeah,
it's killing things. So we can buy what they call shop-built manufactured windows locally. But if we wanted a vinyl or certain look, because, we're going more modern, right? Those profiles, especially casement stuff, man, they're like 18 to 22 weeks out, glass, everything. So that's the one challenge I'm seeing on building materials. I think some others, paint, like last year you couldn't even get paint. Like I went in, I just wanted white paint. Sorry, we don't have super paint. We don't have, it was just, because that was, from the factory in Texas. So materials, windows, I'm probably seeing. I don't know what else you are seeing, but the windows are crazy.
Plywood's more than double.
Yeah, lumber.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And some builders actually won't even do. They've got homes sold, but custom builders. I'd be curious if you've seen this. Is they won't do the start because they're hoping lumber prices will settle. Because they just don't know what the number is at the end of the day, and if they can't make any money on it, then why go ahead and build, right?
And a lot of these builders, they'll come out with a product, and it'll be a spec home or whatever, build to suit, and they'll have a fixed price in 2020, and the homes are going to be built now in 2022, 2023, and when they start looking at their inventory costs, they're actually losing money when they get to the close table, and so a lot of these builders, a lot of these developers are saying, okay, here's what the estimated cost is, but you, buyer, have to be willing to pay these extra costs, and we will show those to you. And scarcity of product like granite countertops or windows, we may not be able to get you what was in the design center. And so these are things that another agent thing that we have to talk to our clients about. Hey guys, what if they don't have that granite countertop when we're ready to put that in? What if the cost of 2x4s or 2x8s has increased 50% like it has over the last 12 months? So those are things when you're looking at a builder contract, you better be dotting those I's and crossing those T's.
And to your point earlier, from a custom home build perspective, since it seems like the world that you operate in, typically we, as a builder, we'd give like a guaranteed maximum price or a fixed fee, they're having to do cost plus because you don't know what materials are doing. Usually we always had an escalate in there for lumber because that's the one that's always been volatile. But now since it's everything, Like, I don't know that I'd sign a contract with any client now, like, and I'm putting my builder hat on, because I don't know what that price is going to be, and I'm not going to build a house not to make money, right? So that's a tough road.
So you're saying that they're going to build spec now? Is that
No,
is that
they
the
won't
way to
build
solve
at
that?
all.
Won't build at all.
They're afraid to build.
Yeah, because their prices are continue to go up, but they're only going to go up to so high, right? This trend can only continue so high as the amount of wages increase. At some point, there's a breaking point where prices can't continue to go, or what's going to happen? Then you're going to have people start moving together, living together. Now you're going to decrease household formations. Then that may open up a little bit of supply, but that's going to happen down the road. So I see that because look at rents too. Rents are
Sky high.
Absurd. So at some point, unless wages increase along with it, which they're not keeping up at the same pace, household formations will have to decrease at some point because people can't continue to pay those prices, either on rent or purchase.
Yeah, it's a dilemma.
So,
and in the custom remodel space from the homeowner side, a lot of times they have to move out and rent something while they're building. Yep. Well, then you have the problems with timing with, you get a delay, which
exactly.
A lot of the municipalities, their inspectors were working from home and even slower than usual.
Yeah. Or the windows didn't show up, and now the schedule's 6 weeks out, and those people are stuck in an Airbnb. They only thought they were going to be there 2 months.
Yeah, you're the extended stay hotels. You're seeing a lot of that pop up. So that's a difference maker for folks in that space.
For sure. Which is a good point. Maybe we could just go buy a house in one in each part of the area, and then you just let all these people that don't have a house and charge them 3x rent.
Yeah, I've got one in Richmond Hills and Savannah right now that's what he's going to do.
That scenario happens a lot, more than people think. And I know we see it all the time in private Facebook traffic that are like, hey, I got a client that's got a temp occupancy or the seller has a temp occupancy, so they got 30 days they need a place. Well, if you had a place, you probably can charge 2x, 3x just because they have to have a place for their family.
Yeah. And
then you can just, keep turning out, provided the house is not in a covenant subdivision. But I see that a lot because they call it corporate housing. Who's got corporate housing?
Yeah.
I don't know what that it really exists anymore.
Randy, we'll talk off the air about that.
Yeah. Landlord to the move-ins.
Do I get a commission off it?
No, I think so.
No.
You're in my upline.
Robert gets it.
Yeah, there you go.
So we mentioned lifestyle a few times here too, working from the deck on the lake and in the outdoor lifestyle. Let's talk a little bit about that because Atlanta seems to be. Well, I know mountain biking is huge and all the river and the rafting and the fishing and the lakes and all that. We seem to be very well positioned as the capital of lifestyle as well.
Yeah. Starts with weather, right? Weather's really nice. Taxes are low. There's a lot of corporate jobs here, so the economy's good. There's good restaurants. 30 years ago, Atlanta was not known for its restaurants. And now you could go to Alpharetta, you could go to Woodstock, you could go to Roswell and Sandy Springs and whatnot, and there's a lot of good restaurants. And so, there's a lot of play and work opportunity here in Atlanta.
Strategically, we're located, we're I think still the number one airport in the world. I think one of the Chinese airports took over during COVID, but Atlanta, we're essential for the business hub, right? Yeah. Very pro-business. But you also look at it, what are we, 4 hours from an ocean? You get to Savannah or down to 30A, you're access to mountains. We have 2-3 large lakes. So you pretty much get anything you want here, and you're in Sunbelt. So for all of that, that's why I think people are going to continue. So it's a good space to be in real estate. This is the great show for Georgia for sure.
I've also noticed, Caroline, you can comment on this. Outside of San Diego in the 80s, I have never seen more design per mile than here.
There is some, but I also see a lot of stamped out subdivisions. So, it goes both ways.
I've been places where I see cube after cube after cube, and here it seems like people are really trying to make things, and maybe this is more commercial, but it does seem like they're trying to make things really have a character and design quality to them.
Yeah, I would say so. Most people don't realize Georgia is the largest state east of Mississippi. And for that reason, we're not bound by lakes and oceans and I guess lake, but not ocean, like New York City or San Diego or somebody would, right? So we've been sprawl. The mass home builders go out and they build all these things. However, people want access to that lifestyle. I want to get down to a game or restaurants or whatever. So on the infill lots, right, that's where I feel like they're coming in, and then they can pay the money to design whatever they want, because you're seeing really modern next to very traditional too. So I think we're such a diverse city, like nobody's from Atlanta. And now I think we're finally becoming a very international city. We are the Hollywood of the East Coast. Yep. You get all these tastes coming here. Like I don't know, we'll have to ask who's from Georgia. I think you're getting a lot of mixture of taste. So
I drive a lot of neighborhoods and see these very modern houses next to an old Craftsman or an old bungalow or whatever. So clearly they're going into these older neighborhoods and knocking a house down and putting up something new. Is that just affordability? Is it, in a transitional neighborhood, is that what's driving that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd even say necessarily transitional. My neighborhood, La Vista Park, it has all these, stucco boxes with, the ultra modern stuff, and, selling some of them. I think one recently sold for about $3 million. I mean, they're just,
wow.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But I mean, and then you'll have one a few houses away selling for $400 or $500. So,
and one of the things you're seeing, Randy, it's opportunity. You take some builders or some guys with money, and they'll go into these older neighborhoods with no HOA. I did this back in 2004, 2005. I was buying out an entire neighborhood with some partners, and there was 30 houses, no HOA. And we got 15 of them before we got stomped on by 2008. So these guys go into these older neighborhoods, and it's an opportunity. They can buy something for, say, $375,000, $400,000. They can strip it down, have it professionally redone, and they can sell it for $7 million or live in it for $7 million. Like Indian Hills is a big example of that.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too on that is prices have to be increasing in the locations they're doing that, right? Because they're having to pay a price to knock a house down to build on it. So typically the two things that play on it's location. They want access to lifestyle. Hey, like Brookhaven and Ashford Park area, right after the crash, like you could get a $300,000 brick ranch. Then the $500,000 brick ranch was the knockdown price to build your 1.5. And it was access, it was location, right, for lifestyle. And the second one, typically the driver is the schools. Like Robert mentioned Indian Hills. And it's funny because I remember a picture in the paper where it had this little wheel house in Indian Hills. And then somebody came and built this massive, it just dwarfed it. But it's in one of the few subdivisions in East Cobb that is has a golf course and all the amenities.
Oldest golf community in Cobb County.
And it's in arguably one of the best school districts. It is in the best school district in the state of Georgia. 3 of the top high schools in the state of Georgia all are in that East Cobb region. So typically
Walton, Pope, Lassiter.
Yep. So that's usually the location and the schools usually drive that trend of knocking down that infill type product.
Being an analyst at heart, I'm sitting here listening to all this, and it sounds like, if I had to sum all this up, that you're saying, despite all the chaos going on and all the confusion and all the difficulties, that there's really no short-term end here to the prices going up and the people coming in. It's a demand-driven market, and the longer you wait, the harder it's going to get to find what you want, essentially.
That's right.
Is that a fair statement?
That's very fair. That's what's happening.
And I think even beyond the interest rates, as they keep printing more money, and as Putin starts selling oil in the ruble, I mean,
well, everybody knows what printing money does, except apparently the people that print money.
Inflation.
Yeah. So I'm like, put your money in something like real estate that's not going to lose the value.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this too: is in any market there's opportunity. Who's willing to play in the game hard enough? This is where, like, to me, that separates the average agents from the ones that you would want to hire and do a transaction with, right? I'm always looking at the opportunity market. There's massive opportunity in this market. And if I was advising younger, I always speak to the agent community because that's obviously one I'm in and have a lot of heart for. If you aren't buying real estate, doesn't that seem a little funky? You're advising people to buy and you don't. But here's the big thing. In an inflationary environment, you need to own assets. I bought a house in Lawrenceville I had to buy it with tenants, and 3 months later, things worth $30,000 more than when I bought it. So in an inflationary environment, there is still an opportunity, and I believe it's in real estate. I'm not a stock guy. I still think, and this is not stock advice, but I still think the stock market's got ways to go downward. I'm a real estate person. There's so much opportunity in the real estate space if you get in, do your homework, play the game, get an agent that actually understands it, get a rental. That thing is just going to grow in value. So to me, you got to own assets.
Well, I'm a fundamentals guy, and I don't see. I was trained in this, but I don't see the justification for some of the fundamentals in the stock market lately. PE's out of whack, and there's just so much craziness going on there that it does not seem to me to be sustainable. Whereas on the other hand, the fundamentals of the real estate market support what we've been talking about in here very clearly.
I just like the three basic, human needs: food, water, and shelter.
Sure,
I'm kind of good with shelter. Stock market,
with shelter.
Whew. Other than in my EXP stock, I don't own any other stocks. But to your point, PE ratios they haven't made sense for a long time. No. I think finally it's being exposed because the Fed's having to stop printing money, right, or slow down the printing of money, which is going to spike rates and everything else. And then that's where, to me, that's where stock market gets exposed. I think a lot of companies have a long way to go in the wrong direction.
Okay, shift hats. Get out your crystal balls. Caroline, what's the future look like?
Well, certainly, the moving online is going to change the architecture. I mean, people ask for the Zoom room. You got to have a good background, a nice little room that, whether or not that's the room you work in, but even a little office that maybe you have two home offices where you can alternately open and close the doors to where one person's watching the kids take turns, kind of thing. But yeah, I think it seems that. A little more towards outdoor living. People seem to be wanting the yards and stuff, and I don't know how long that's going to last after the COVID fear dies, but I think that's going to last. Gosh, what else? I think some of the lifestyle changes you mentioned are probably going to happen. I don't know.
Stacey, builders clearing out?
Clearing out in terms of out of business or?
Yeah, and reducing inventory even further? What do you think?
I don't think so. They're going to continue to build. The one challenge I will say is a lot of the big builders, and this is an interesting trend, there's a lot of hedge funds buying up, gobbling up residential real estate. So the builders that we were hoping building inventory for single-family houses, they're building single-family houses, but then they're selling them to the hedge funds to rent out. I've got multiple examples here in Atlanta. One in Gwinnett County, it's like a 400-unit subdivision. They're going to buy it, or they're building it to then just turn over to the hedge fund to rent them out. So it's not helping the inventory. So I don't think any builders are going anywhere anytime soon. To me, it's just when the cost of land gets too expensive, and if it's all going to depend on inflation. So I don't think there's anything in the market right now for builders to be worried about because we need them. They need to build more houses and faster.
Yeah, and anybody who says that they know where we're headed, they're probably not telling you the truth because of all of our experience, it's hard to really pinpoint where we're going to head because we're not in control of inflation and printing money and tax codes and all that stuff. The one thing that I see is a transient lifestyle. People are going to be moving to where they want to live, and there's a lot of equity being built, and there's a lot of wealth being created by the real estate market right now. And you're going to see people in their 50s, 55, 60s, 65s, they're going to be cashing out. And they're going to go live on their sailboat, or they're going to go live in a condo down at the beach, and they're going to be sitting on a pile of money because they were investing in real estate, and that's a good thing for us.
Cool. It's our clients listening out there. Take a minute, each of you. Tell me what you would like to say to your client out there. Ready?
Let's do it.
Robert.
Be careful who you trust in today's environment, real estate environment. Seek out professionals who have teams of people around them that you can look and see that their history is correct and they've done some really good things, and they can prove it to you. I just want to say, if you're not buying real estate and you're waiting, you've got to get on the speeding train. It's going 150 miles per hour, like Stacey said. He'd rather have something appreciating at an $800,000 house at 10% opposed to that $350,000 house that we bought when we first got married. So there's that. So don't wait because there's not going to be a slide back. That's what I would tell my folks.
Caroline.
Well, I would certainly agree. Don't wait. I would say, if some, with me personally, my focus is on whatever, appealing to your needs. So let's say you're afraid World War III is about to start and you want a concrete underground house. that's what I'll do for you. You know, I mean, or if you want something that's like a treehouse, that's what we'll go with. You know, it's like we're trying to go with what really supports you. You know, and if you need the security of the underground concrete house, we'll do that.
I love it.
Yeah. And since I'm kind of in all those spaces, I'm going to, in this particular avatar, I'm going to talk to my client who is fellow real estate agents. And what I would tell them is who you're in business with matters. And you really need to get around people that are going to help you grow. I know a whole train of thought there that was going to go. In any event, we're helping agents not sell more houses. We're teaching them how to run businesses. And I think people that actually run businesses have a lot more staying power and take your own advice. If you're out there telling people to invest in real estate, you as an agent also should be investing in real estate.
Yep. And use BeckShot.com.
Oh, of course. Now, actually, and on that topic, I did do some real nice video for EXP recently for you guys, and more to come. So take a second and tell us what you'd like us to know about EXP.
So EXP is the first real estate model, in my opinion, that has typically in a real estate model, the owners of a franchise get paid, then the regional owners get paid, and then the national international gets paid. This is the first model. They flipped it and actually made the agents the owners of the company. So for me, actually, because again, this is getting back to owning that asset, right? If a company actually allows you to own a piece of it, I think typically kind of what you said, we're working 16 hours because why? We own the company. Mm-hmm. So if you want a company where you actually have true ownership in it, to me, that company's sky's the limit because people act differently when you actually own a piece of the pie.
Good stuff.
All right. I'm going to flip it back to Stone here. Thank you guys for coming in. You made my head hurt with all this information, but it was good. It was an excellent discussion from true subject matter experts, wouldn't you say?
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And, of course, we were starting at rock bottom, but my knowledge base has certainly expanded from here. Before we wrap, though, I would like to make sure that we go around the horn and let's get some points of contact for everyone. If someone out there listening would like to have a conversation with you or someone on your team, whatever you feel like is appropriate, whether it's a website, LinkedIn, email, and we'll start with you, Ms. Caroline, and go around the horn.
Okay, so it's Caroline Leyburn Design. You can get that at cluniquehomedesign.com or Caroline at cluniquehomedesign for my email. The phone is 404-963-8688.
All right. Mr. Mason.
Well, I'm Robert Mason. My company is RM Property Group, and I'm brokered by EXP with Stacey Wyatt. And my website is robertmasonsellshomes.com. And you can find me. My name's on the back of my car. I get accosted in parking lots frequently. And so I'm all over that area. So if you need anything, just look me up, Robert Mason. I'm there.
And our headliner, Stacey.
Yeah, so Stacey Wyatt Real Estate Broker, also brokered by EXP. Easiest way usually is Instagram these days. It's at Stacey Wyatt Real Estate. DM me or just Google Stacey Wyatt, and it's hard not to find me.
Yeah, you'll find him.
And our sponsor and host for today, Randy. Where can folks get in touch with you, man? I'm
like Robert. If you look for the van or the truck running around town that says BeckShot on it, and you grab me by the elbow, I'm there. Yeah. Have camera, will travel.
Yeah. I passed you at Thousand Hills 2 days ago. I think.
Yeah, I saw you. And my website is BeckShot.com. And all contact information is on there, as well as a lot of samples of the photographic work and several hours worth of video to binge watch.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming. This has been marvelous. It's been informative, inspiring. I'm looking forward to doing more of these episodes with you, Randy. I think we're going to have a good time and help some folks. So until then, this is Stone Payton, your producer, our host today, Randy Beck with BeckShot, our guest, and everyone here at the Business RadioX family saying we'll see you next time on Design Radio.